Good afternoon, everybody. It's Friday. We made it. TGIF. Have no sphere. Oh, I got here by the hardest. I hope it's a great Friday for you. We have an amazing show lined up. Some great people. We're going to say hey to everybody here in just a minute. Chill out. Go get your coffee. Get ready for a great Friday afternoon with the Have No Sphere Flat Earth Friday Fringe Cast. We're going to make that title as long as we can. Keep adding to it for us. Man, I love that music. Shout out to Stephanie. Well, it's been an interesting day for me. We didn't have our show this morning over there on TFR. We surely missed it. Josh is under the weather. Shout out to Josh. We miss Josh, man. Hope he feels better. And apparently I have YouTube going in the background, so I'm hearing myself now, and it's a little bit disconcerting. Give me a second. There it is. So we made it. Friday is here. Whew. A breath for sure for everybody. Let's say hey to the crew. Adam, Meekin, that Adam, sir, how are you this lovely Friday?
Finished pressing buttons. Can you hear me? By showing, yep. Not bad, mate.
You are. I hear you. You're doing the same thing. I'm doing all this multitasking. I'm not used to doing as well. So we'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All good, mate. All good. Busy week. Strange week. I'll maybe talk about it another time, but yeah, an odd week, really, to be honest. Before we get into stuff, I just want to send a lot of love out there. I'm not going to discuss it tonight, but to the people that know it, thoughts and prayers are with you. And yeah, I love you guys. Anyway, yeah. Other than that, yeah, a busy, mad week at work, mate, really. Crazy week realising we're without Josh, which is hence the strange start and the panic start. But
when he's not around, we all suddenly realize how near and dear to our hearts Josh is. He is the key member sometimes when all of this production starts getting underway. So we definitely miss you, man. Hope you feel better.
I'm just a grease monkey. You need a general, generally. So, but yeah, good week, mate. I'm looking forward to tonight. Got some great guests and fortunate guests and some great presentation coming up. Something that we've all put a fair bit of work into. So, really looking forward to that in the second part as well. Stop rambling.
That's fine. Ramble is worthy today, I believe. Apparently, you've had the same kind of week I've had. We'll probably talk about that another time as well. Let's see how that Adam is. I'm sorry, not that Adam. I'm looking at my list, and you're at the top. John Savage. Hello, Savage. I don't have my sound cue for you. Are you at here? Savage!
That was pretty good there. Yeah, no, I'm doing well. Looking forward to the show. Got an impromptu presentation to give that the audience will be party to our first rehearsal, so don't expect much, but yeah, busy week, ups and downs and all sorts, but I can barely remember now, but this time just after, I think it was last Saturday, I finally managed to get my hot water system working, and we had hot running water for the first time in 10 months and a shower that would take your hair off, basically. It's an absolute killer. But I won't bore you all with my plumbing expertise. Moving on with the show.
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad to hear you're bathing in hot water again, my friend.
No, I'm not. It's all shut off now. And that was beta testing. I've got to wait for a power source to be installed first so I can heat the bastard up.
Is it a bit like tonight's presentation then? Is this a beta test?
It's way more organised than that.
And I'm still learning this Zoom system. Yeah, there it is. Hello, Zach. Too nice for Isabella, the nomad himself. How are you, my friend?
Doing wonderful, guys. It's always good to be here on Friday evening. Yeah, it was weird not being there this morning. Not having Josh around. It's weird not having him around right now. You know, I hope you feel better, man. Get some rest. Take it easy. All that good stuff. Eat some soup or whatever it is you people in St. Louis do. We got some different stuff going on in St. Louis there. It was weird. It was.
Don't he have to go and deep fry something?
Yeah.
That's down here. That's what we do. We deep fry everything.
But yeah, no, great week. Got a lot done with my truck. A lot of much needed tender loving care to the suspension system. She's ready for another 265,000 miles, I think. But that'll be all in good time. But yeah, no, it's been a great week. Got a lot done around here, and ready for a good show tonight.
Hey, that welding, Zach, that's worth a mention. That was impressive.
Thank you. Yeah, learning a lot about welding and just the different things you can do with it. It's a really neat skill and it's fun. If you got a few extra bucks and you want a hobby that it costs a little bit of money, steel's not cheap and whatnot, but man, you can make some really neat stuff. And it's just, it's like, I don't know. It's like picking a lock, John. It's one of those feelings you can't explain until you do it. It's
like Meccano for men, isn't it?
Yeah, it's taking two pieces of metal, you know, that are real hard that, you know, aren't together. No matter how much you push them together, they're not going to sit there and stick. And then you make it to where you can't get them apart. You know, they become one. It's like, it's a form of alchemy, really. It's neat.
They sort of meld, don't they? People sort of think that the metal sticks the two bits together, but it doesn't. It literally melts it and reforms it. It's mental stuff. I love welding.
Yeah.
Although I've never tried it.
So cool. And he's teaching me about it when you're welding pieces of steel like this thick. And on the cruise boats and stuff, he's gone and done that kind of work. And it's just, that's just crazy. I don't want to do anything like that. That's big boy welding. You got to know what you're doing, and it's dangerous work. But I know welding, I'm going to have a welder in my lab once I get one for the rest of my life, for sure. It'll be one of those toys that follows me around forever. A lot of fun.
It's one I've told you, my dad's a welder. I was telling you, one of those things I don't like doing. That circular saws, whenever I'm doing it, all I'm waiting for is impending death. So I have no pleasure in those activities. But my youngest lad's been promised to it. He's a little bit older than me. My dad's going to teach him to weld. So it's
don't get me wrong. It was scary at first. It definitely was. It takes a little bit of practice and a little bit of, to just be able to stick your face right in there while that thing. I mean, it's like taking the light socket and cutting it off and, sticking the wires together. That's pretty much what you're doing. You're completing a circuit right there.
I was always worried about forgetting to put the visor down and blinding myself.
Yeah. There's actually the one I use is an automatic one, and I did forget to hit it once. Man, and I sat there and stared at it for like a good, probably second and a half. And I saw that little circle for, I don't know, a good 25, 30 minutes. Everywhere I looked, there's a big blob right in the middle where I was.
Yeah. So when you stare at the sun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Same thing. A lot of fun. Yeah. I'm learning a lot. And the garden's coming along. It's I just added a bunch more leaves. My biggest problem is trying to keep the dogs out of it. You can see they have a hole right there that they just dug to lay down in. Little stinkers, but no, this weather's amazing down here. When I come back to the States to retire, I'll be definitely spending a lot of time in Florida in the wintertime. I thought it would be the desert, but no. Central to southern Florida is perfect. I could definitely, nomad around here for a while.
Where's our bus driver? What's the next stop?
Yep.
I'll ding ding, because I don't think Walt got the analogy. We've got one more, haven't we? Rob, are you there, bruv? I'm not introducing him if he's then quiet.
Just wait for the wildlife. Rob, you're muted. Or buggered off.
I thought I heard him, but maybe that was somebody faking it.
I think that's Zach's dogs.
He's still trying to get rid of his Illuminati eye look.
Yeah, sorry guys. What did you ask me? What did you ask me, Adam?
Well, I was about to say, are you there? Of which I don't need an answer now. That's been confirmed. So yeah, we've got the pleasure this evening again, haven't we? Of your good self, sir. And yeah, if you could just bring the general level of excitement down, over to you.
Well, Rob, hold on a minute. You're being on the bottom of the ball there, yeah? You're living proof now and witness to the water falling down off the ball and ending up in your town, aren't you?
That's right. That's right. The flood we had this week and the previous week, because it rained for about a good 12 days here. There's Noah's flood, and then there's ours. It was ridiculous amounts of water came here. 1.4 meters over the 10 days or 11 days I had here, which is a bit less than what they had just to the north of me.
And that's unheard of around your way.
Oh, yeah. It's unbelievable. Yeah. No, the most we've ever seen is probably about the 700 or 800 millimeters.
And you got crocodiles in the street.
Metric system, please, Americans, please go to the metric system. It's just so much easier. 700 or 800 mil, which is nearly a yard. A yard is about 900 mil. Okay.
You've had crocodiles in the street.
Yeah. So my mate lives sort of in the centre of town, and about 2 streets up from him was a 3-meter crocodile at someone's front door. There's been crocodiles climbing trees. If you go on Twitter, or if you go on any social media, I suppose Facebook, and you searched Townsville floods, you'll see all the images of what's been going on. The flood was mainly because our dam was so full they had to release water, and so they had a wall of water that went into the city, really. And
they didn't see that coming.
No, they saw it coming. They just couldn't stop it. They started releasing water 2 days before. Well, the dam had 400 millimeters of rain over the course of about 3 or 4 hours in the catchment area, and it was that night that the dam. They've got gates that open automatically once it hits a level, and it released all this water, and you couldn't stop it. It's either that or it just goes over the top, which is put pressure on the rest of the structure, and which is even worse. So there's thousands of people. There's thousands. So my town's probably got 200,000 people in it. There's thousands of people who've lost their homes. Yeah. It's pretty bad.
Well, definitely lots of love and lots of prayers going out to you guys.
Yeah, my house is fine. I'm a little bit above sea level here, so water runs off really, really well here. But what else has been going on with me? I quit my job yesterday. But my life, I had a bad 2018. Terrible. I wouldn't wish on anybody. I'll get another job, which I'm hoping for, and my life can start falling back into place again. Yeah, that's just one little piece of the puzzle that hopefully will help me out.
Think positive.
But unfortunately, my dad's in hospital at the moment. He's really, really bad. Doesn't look good. So that's another downer. Is that a good enough for you, Adam? Another downer for you? I know. Yeah. So no, 2019. I hope it's a bit better than 2018.
Yeah, I hope so too, mate.
Definitely. Well, I'm glad to have you back in the mix, Rob. We certainly have missed your cheery disposition.
Yeah, except when Adam's here. It's a downer when Adam's here, I think.
I think he's lost his mute button.
I think he's lost completely. I think something may have happened. Are we even streaming? I don't even know. I have no control. It says we're live. I'm going to believe it. But I definitely don't see Adam in the mix.
Oh, well.
Everybody in chat. I see you guys. I can't talk to you, though. I can't chat with you. I've got to stay here. All right. Well, I'm definitely sorry that anybody that's having a rough week, year, month, I sympathize. As you've heard here, we've all had some interesting weeks, months, years. Just remember, we're all in this together. It is a family. And anytime you need to talk, Rob, you know we're here. And that goes out to anybody that's listening, anybody in the chat. You guys know where to find us. We're always around somewhere. All right. We have, if I'm not mistaken, is it Gary here in the house? Yes.
Hi, Walt. Yeah, I'm here.
I see him. I just was making sure I hadn't lost you too, man. I don't even know where my controls have gone. Welcome, Gary. We're glad to have you, my friend.
Pleasure, Gary.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Zach. It's nice to be here, and thanks so much for continuing with this every other week invite.
No, thanks for coming back, man. We're interested to, well, I'm going to fake being interested in knowing who the guest is, or the new name you've got to announce.
Yeah, I bet you can't guess, can you, John?
I just can't. Oh, bollocks, I'm sharing the wrong screen.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Okay. There's three parts to tonight that I want to mention. Two of them are related, and this person that I'm just going to announce is, one, is aware of some of it, and two, he's a very strong advocate for Flat Earth, especially with debates. And I would like to introduce Nathan Oakley.
Hello.
Yay, soundboard. Yay.
Welcome.
Hey, Nathan.
How you doing, Nathan?
Very well. Good to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
No problem. Just glad you're here. Glad we can hear you. Glad things are working. I don't know where Adam went, but
can you hear me
we've lost
now?
our rudder as usual. Oh no, he's welcome.
No doubt.
I'm here. I was looking for Adam, actually, trying to see if he left us a message anywhere on Twitter or Skype. I have yet to find one.
Can you hear me? Hello?
There he is.
Oh, this might keep happening, guys. This headset gave out last night. I don't know. It's just dodgy as hell. So just ignore me, and I'll come back.
That's what happens when you buy 10 headsets off dodgy Phil up the road on his auction site.
No, this one was from the shop. That's the annoying thing. See? The auction stuff I rebuild. I wouldn't. But yeah, sorry, guys. Sorry about that. Welcome, Gary. Welcome, Nathan.
So, Gary, you said you had three parts to it. One was introducing Nathan.
Yeah, with Nathan, obviously, we all know how fantastic he is at debating. So in having a conversation recently, or about a month ago, Dee Dee and myself with Adam, it was strongly suggested that Nathan should be one of our debaters for the geocentric model, or geocentric realm. And as soon as it came up, we thought, yeah, what an absolute perfect fit, because John, if you remember 2 weeks ago, you were saying, oh, I think that Nathan's probably the strongest advocate for the debating for us out there, and you were saying about maybe like the Oxford University and other bits and pieces. Then I thought, oh, just watch this space because things are happening. So
right,
Dee and I are really, really pleased that Nathan has agreed to join us in Amsterdam, and we're dead excited about it. So yes.
Yeah, everyone else seemed to get that cryptic link, but no one informed me as to what it meant. And yeah, so I am excited to hear what you had to say. No, that's great. Yeah, because I think we were suggesting it a couple of weeks ago, weren't we? Sort of putting our A team up against, if you're going to go to the Oxford Debating Society, then let's go there prepared for the worst and be pleasantly surprised. I'd say. Yeah,
it's not actually that Nathan has actually been put aside for that. He's actually going to be part of the team for the debate at the Amsterdam Convention. So on the Saturday, we're going to have, our goal is to have like half an hour slot for each of the 4 debaters, 2 on the geocentric, 2 on the heliocentric. And then there's going to be like a questions back and forth between them in the afternoon session before it then goes on to the audience to ask questions. So we're really very pleased to be working with Nathan on this, and we all know how strong he is.
Well, also, it's like I was saying a couple of weeks ago, you know, forget the Oxford Debating Society. They've become sort of, well, irrelevant, but where the real debates are is going to be the conferences going forward. And I think you're setting up a good team there. And Nathan's obviously a hugely strong arm of that side of things. But how do you feel about it, Nathan? Are you looking forward?
Yeah, definitely. Very confident.
Did everyone see allegedly Dave against a physicist recently?
Yeah, that was.
It was
bum nippy, weren't it?
Some European where was he from? Yeah, shocking, wasn't it?
He's the particle physicist, wasn't he?
And you if you read in the comments, like the YouTube comments, everyone says, please, if you're a globe believer, just have a look at the flat Earth model before you go and debate anybody, because they have not got a clue. Most have not got a clue what our model is anything about it. You know, they just go in absolutely blind and they just get made fools of.
It's not. See, that's the thing. That's the way you set yourself up for failure. I think in any debate is to present yourself with your model when you don't know shit. When the honest answer is, I don't know shit, but I do know I'm being lied to. And I think
that is shown so many times over and over again. Sorry, Adam, on Nathan's show.
Yeah.
All these, people who are being educated at the time, smart young individuals who are told things are facts and this and that and yada, yada, yada. And then I love it when they tell Nathan that he doesn't understand something, because that's like lighting a fire under his ass, and he just jumps all over him and starts. But yeah, no.
What would you really think? A real globe believer, what would he think of that debate if he saw it? Would he think he got beat, or he just laugh it off?
Well, the thing is, it's the way Nathan handles the debate. He's not making any statements about anything when he does it.
He meant allegedly Dave, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
Dave.
Yeah.
Do you think a person who believes in the globe would watch that and think that they did okay, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I didn't see the debate.
Well, or you'd come out, if you believed in the globe and you listened to what that man said, all you'd come out believing is, just from this perspective though, but that was basically he was completely dumbfounded for me from point one. Do you know what I mean? And I didn't think he had anything really that was worthy of addressing. And to me, it was another one of those examples where they don't come to the table prepared, which, as Zach's saying, you see constantly on Nathan's show. It's an arrogance, a presupposition that they have of their knowledge base.
Do we know who Nathan is going to be up against in Amsterdam?
We've got weeks to wait.
Moment, no, we're still working on that.
Was another cryptic clue though, Gary, weren't there? Like the other week, that just leave it there for John to go and find. But there was another one last week. So I think it's kind of really important this year that it doesn't matter who comes to the debate, but that it's necessary that they don't have to be schooled in their own model. Whoever comes to the debate, and respectfully to the young boys last year, they didn't understand about when I challenged them out about gas pressure. They didn't understand and use the water pressure as an analogy to validate their point. They didn't understand about gyroscopes and had to pass on that, you know. And I think that's the thing for me, that whoever's on the ball side, really, that is not an acceptable defence. If it's, I don't know, in relation to their model, should not really be an acceptable defence, and that's the bit where I think is your challenge, Gary, in terms of getting those that are prepared to, because once you once you take it, it's hard to then, you know, once you've got a grasp of the model, and I think that's what we're coming to tonight. It's very hard to defend when you fully explain it. There has to be levels of admission, and certainly for me at higher academia, levels of admission is something that you do see.
Ask you guys a question. So if I say in regards to heliocentricity, the model, would you know what I was talking about?
I would think I would know what you're talking about, but
We would after this week, yeah.
So John, tell me, what would it be talking about?
like the spinning ball hurtling around a sun, 9 planets, cosmos, accident, Big Bang, redshift, water sticking to the ball, that sort of thing.
It's quite a lot of things. So, given that you've just listed off quite a number of things, and this is the poignant part, if I asked you to show me that model, what do you think you'd come up with?
If I was to show you the model, well, it would have to be, you mean physical model?
Here we go.
I mean, if it's a physical model, then you'd need a little Earth, and then a long away you would be a little.
I'll try and put it another way. Right. So all of you at some point will have debated with the globe head, and they'll have gone, well, in our model, and the way it's put across is that they have this all-encompassing, solves everything, does everything, explains everything model, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you actually get to that stage and you are debating with said globe head, ask them that question that I've just asked you. Can I see this model, please?
Will you live in it?
Show you.
Is that what you get back? Well, you're living in it.
Well, what I'm saying is the amount of times flat earthers have been challenged to, quote unquote, show us your model. Right now, I'll just preface this by saying models are pseudoscience. They don't prove anything. They're not establishing cause effect. They're not science. They're just models, right? Mm-hmm. They might be useful for explaining something, but they're not proving anything. Ultimately speaking, they are pseudoscience if you're using them to prove something in that manner, which the globeheads do. So they have a pseudoscience model. But if you actually challenge them to present it, they don't have it. They might have some small aspect of it that they can either verbally, mathematically, or otherwise describe. But if you actually say, well, let's have a look at it, what are they actually going to present you?
Well, they rely on these crutches and off the cuff sort of, it's impossible to work in your model, but works in our model perfectly and all this sort of thing.
How do you explain eclipses?
Yeah, I mean, that's another one.
If we said 96% of our model was invisible and couldn't be detected at all, we could have it do anything we wanted to. I mean, yeah, they don't have a model.
But right, exactly. They don't have a model. So when they go on about, you phrased it, our model, and you hear that phrase, well, in our model, just immediately, if you like, say, can I see it, please? See what? Our model. Let's have a look. Let's see what it looks like.
It reminds me of the one that they always come back with, the royal we. Where we've been to the moon, we've got pictures of space, we have an ISS up in orbit and all this, and you just have to say, well, what do you mean we? Well, you're talking complete hearsay of people you don't even know, that you're just simply believing I mean, that's the definition of a religion. So it's.
I was about to say the priests. When they say we, they actually mean the priests.
Talks to God. My priest talks to God. Okay, but yeah, the royal we in globalism.
I was going to say with it's not that because the defence that will come back from your boys, we do have a model. They do have models, but they have models of specific components of reality. What they don't have is an actual working model of reality that they profess. So they might have a bit that works and gives prediction, but the sad thing is these things don't then harmonise and work together.
Well, they have a broken clock, don't they?
Yeah, and that's the distinction, because you'll get the silly argument, yeah, we do, this model works. It does. That may give you, and that's the other thing about models, they don't prove anything. A model either demonstrates something or gives a prediction at best. They don't prove anything. They're models.
And most of the time, their model is wrong. It doesn't work. And we'll hopefully go on to show that this evening. But, you know, how can the moon spin around the Earth and is accelerating and decelerating? And there's so many aspects of their so-called model that don't work. You know, tides being associated with the moon, and that can be shown to be nonsense as well in so many respects. And there's just so much that doesn't work in their model, I think.
Absolutely. And part of the problem is that whole egotistical you've built, or they've built, or whoever you're debating has built their ego, their personality on being smart, being nerdy, being aware of all this science news, and they follow all these people on Twitter and they know it all. But what they don't know is the basis of it all is just theoretical, you know, just like the dark matter that they still are trying to make excuses can't find and can't detect.
Into the lid, top chat room.
Real quick, shout out to Ranty Flat Earth. He left a little super message here for us. Ballers now understand linear compression is real. They now understand ambient light behaves differently to a laser beam, breaking the globe day by day. RFE. Get them, KB Fish Tank Warrior Princess. Shout out, Ranty. Oh, I love it.
And Dave Murphy was in the chat just a minute ago as well.
I'm trying to play catch up. Hello, Dave. Glad to have you.
He's the man that got me into all this. I think David Weiss posted a video from Dave and led me to this. Thanks, Dave.
Absolutely. Glad to have you in chat with us.
I got to meet him at the conference in 2018. It was really nice. He was really ill. He'd I don't know if he'd inhaled some sort of acid at the time, but he sounded really rough and was under the weather. But it was nice to still, give him a hug and say, hello, Dave. Nice to meet you. Yeah, great. It's really nice just to segue slightly into the conferences, but it is really nice to press the flesh, actually meet people, realize they're not, the 2015 laden paranoia of shells that everyone labels us, just people doing our thing.
It's what upsets me the most about all this is I'm here alone. Well, I feel like I'm alone down here on the bottom of the ball.
You've got to get in.
You guys have conferences within 100 kilometers of you. Yes, kilometers, America, metric system, kilometers. All right,
Australia's too
get on
big,
board.
and
I'm thousands of kilometers away from a conference that's been the closest to me.
So make the Flat Earth Conference in Australia. Make it happen, Rob. You can do it.
I think there has been one, but it was down in Melbourne or Sydney, which is thousands of kilometers away. Oh, did it? Didn't even get going.
Big media shambles and probably a complete setup.
Was Jaron going to go to that?
I don't think Jaron knew he was, but apparently.
Oh, right. One of those ones.
It was a very dodgy affair.
So I could have rolled up and said I was Jaron. No.
Anyone remember what Grandpa Simpson said about the metric system?
Oh, you start me off. I reckon I would be able to quote it. Yeah, go.
He said the metric system is the devil.
He's not wrong, is he? It is an introduction. It's part of, I'm going to go mud floody. But again, you see a redefining of units to take away any meaning, the old imperial, whatever, but the old units that actually were based on, well, reality-wise, things that we don't really understand why they based them on that, but they certainly had a meaning. And the metric system is, it's also, I think, a way of moving a way of thinking mathematically, because decimalization and using base 10 as a functioning system is very simplifying of how you can manipulate numbers and stuff. So if you use hexadecimal or octa on a decimal systems, you really have to understand the numbers. Do you know what I mean? And I think what you see, as much as they profess progression, I think you see a regression in size and a simplifying and a dumbing down and hiding of levels of complexity. And the power of these different systems, that computers work in zeros and ones, you know what I mean? So it's, I've kind of lost the point I was making there, but
do you see that they keep redefining all these standard measurements, like they did the kilo about a month ago, and they'll redefine it now in terms of pseudoscience. So it's they'll bring it back to the Big Bang or some sort of cosmological, so that no one can verify it. So it's completely unrepeatable for the common man to say, here is how I can independently create what they now define as a kilo. I think it was a kilo. It was one of the last ones. Sorry, man.
Right. It was the kilo, and they've now made it out of a different material, which name I can't remember. But they had, I think, if memory serves me, 6 going back for quite some time, and they were separated out and put in different locations. But then when they brought them back together and compared them, they were different. So they didn't have a standardized kilo. But now it's been re-standardized. This is literally in the last few months.
Yeah, but they totally changed the definition of it, so it's now into it's derived by pseudoscience. You or I could quantify it or reproduce it in any way, shape, or form. So, and they've done the same with the meter and things like this as well. I think they were sort of saying in this article that, the kilogram is one of the last remaining to be defined in a modern day scenario. But if I could go and look up some standard units and
top of this. So when he did a presentation recently, he was aware of this about to happen. So it was the first I'd heard of it, because he defined it and said, no, this terminology will change slightly, and sort of preempted that change in terminology when he did the presentation, because he was talking about, I can't remember which concept he was specifically talking about, but it came up in whatever presentation he was doing. I should really have a better handle of presentations I've done with John, but I've done quite a few. But nevertheless, he had it all terminology all laid out correctly for the change. In other words, so the video would still be relevant and have all the correct meanings in it. I can't remember the exact definition. I hope you'll look it up. So I'll tag on and pretend I knew.
Yeah, I'll look it up now.
before we go too far off kilter, guys, Gary, are you still there? And can you maybe just summarise the rest? Because if we don't, mate, we'll wander off. Because I've got so.
Well, can I lead, Gary? So Gary,
yeah, do it.
Give us the dates, the times, the wheres, the whens. Give us all that for the conferences.
The UK Convention Conference is the 13th and up to the 15th of September. The Amsterdam Convention is the 27th, 28th, 29th of the same month. And the tour to End All Tours tour starts, I think it's the 29th of August, and it goes on to run about mid-November, but I may be corrected by Roxanne and Robin, but that's there or thereabouts, the almost like an 8-week window for people to get involved in some way.
That's a European tour, right? So that's the Globe Light Tour Europe.
Yeah, 64 destinations. I think it's 39 countries, which takes in both the UK stroke convention and the Netherlands and convention. So yeah, 39 countries in total, which is extreme.
Well, it's good stuff going on in 2019, and you've pioneered this expansion of the topic in the way it's presented to the public through 2018. And I'm hoping 2019 will be, even better. But it's a lot of this expansions come from you, John. Sorry, Gary.
Right, Nathan. The thing is, though, if you think about last year, we had obviously what happened in Rally, and then obviously then it moves on to Canada. Then there was the UK. This year, it's gone up to, I think there's like 9 events, and it's just. I don't know what you think about this, Nathan, but there seems to be a lot of chat about 2020 is a really big year. Like, I think 2020 is a big year for quite a few reasons. One of them of which is the 5G issue, which is a big stumbling block. I think a big issue. But yeah, I mean, if you think about what's happening in 2019, it's off the scale compared to what's happening in 17.
Gary, do you want to speak on that for a bit, if you want? I know you're a bit of one of your beefs, isn't it?
What we're talking about, 5G?
The 5G, yeah, mate. If you want to have a bang, because it's pretty current. If you want to have a bang, just, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not an absolute expert on this, but I have done a little bit of research that at this moment, the phone systems are based on, I think, 2.4 gigahertz. And I believe that's a frequency that works where it affects us with, I believe it's liquid, as in water. But with the 5G, it's going to be ramped up to, I think it's 60 gigahertz, which is actually more in air. And what they have to do is, because they have to have the little routers, the little hubs closer, they're going to have to up the power. And in doing that, if you're inside, if you're like in a particular, like, I don't know, I live in a village, and you have 5 or 6 of these around you, you're actually basically, I'm calling it like a kill grid, that you're actually in this almost like this radiation zone. So the question is, how many people here in the chat would want to be in a room surrounded by a load of microwaves? And the answer, they wouldn't. But that's exactly what we're going to have. So I personally feel that people should, like when they go out, they really should be considering turning off their Wi-Fi, because if the Wi-Fi is on your phone, it has to work hard to look for a Wi-Fi signal, even though you may be connected to data. But that means not only using up your battery, but you're also making the phone work harder. And if it is kicking out radiation, which I believe, we all believe it does, then you're just creating yourself more harm. And I just can't believe that there's people that, like, for instance, go to a show or convention or go to the shops or whatever, and they have their phones in their pocket that's within half an inch of their skin. And it's just, I don't know, I just think people don't realize the significance of it, really. So there's loads more on 5G. Obviously, it's just, and the other thing is, like, it's not only it's a big brother thing as well as the radiation, and it just I just think that everyone really should be aware that 5G is not the way for the future. Really, I understand some of the benefits of what they're doing, like driverless cars and other things, but there's so much more bad about it than there is good.
I don't think driverless cars add much benefit, to be perfectly honest. They're all going around exploding and mowing people down and everything, aren't they?
Well, I think
what's
the
point in a car if you can't drive it?
Exactly.
Sorry I just want to check what exactly is the score with 5G then. So is it just a much higher frequency, therefore requires much more power?
What it is, Nathan, is that they can't, where you have like a particular like, I mean, again, I'm not an expert on this, but this is the gist of it. But where you would have, like, for instance, a base station, for the want of a better word, every 500 meters, or every like 2,000 meters or whatever it is, it can't work. It apparently can't go through walls, or it's got very little strength. So the only way,
so it's high frequency. So
they have to push up the power to make them operate. And
Yeah.
because of that,
higher frequency.
yeah, so it's not only a frequency issue, but you've also had to ramp up the pressure, the power to get it to work. And if you're within an area where you've got 2 or 3 of these around you, which is easy because of the fact that they're going to be literally almost every other lamppost. And it's just something that I think a lot of people need to look into, how bad it is. I mean, I've done research about this about 8 months ago, and I've lost some of my thoughts on it have probably gone out the window because I've moved on to other things. But it is a pet subject of mine that I've got a landlord, and I said to him, well, when they start pushing the 5G on you, can you please consider not having it, because it's just not good.
Okay. I mean, I understand the reasons behind it. I don't know the dangers of it. Obviously, you're more familiar, but in terms of the whys and wherefores of why you'd have to have more transmitters, it's basically, if you imagine if you're at a concert, as you get further and further away from the concert, you lose the higher frequencies until eventually all you'll hear is the drone of the bass, i.e. the lower frequencies. So lower frequencies can travel much, much further and through walls. And as you go higher and higher in frequency, the less distance they require, or the more power you have to put into them to make them go through things like walls. So the way you negate that is to have considerably more transmitters at this higher frequency, and it'll drop one, go to the next, drop one, to continually, like you described earlier.
And that's exactly what it is.
That was well explained. So it's like at a concert, you'd have like the bass speakers at the front, and you'd have hundreds of tweeter speakers all around carrying the higher frequencies. Yeah,
so the higher frequencies wouldn't, if you hear your next door neighbor playing music, normally all you will hear is the lower frequencies, because they can travel through walls. They're more powerful, whereas the higher frequencies won't. They'll just get absorbed by the walls. And it's the same with transmitting frequencies as well. So the lower frequencies can go through buildings physically. The frequency will traverse a building without necessarily having to have huge amounts of power put behind it, whereas the high frequencies just won't. They'll hit a wall and die. So the higher the frequency, the worse that problem becomes, and therefore the more transmitters you have to have closer together in order to maintain a steady high frequency.
And isn't it that 5G is millimeter wave?
Yes, that's right.
Which is the same crap they've got at the airports, which even now, I think if you look up, even on Wikipedia, it says it's untested on humans. They don't know what the long-term effects of millimeter wave technology is on humans.
That's basically it. Yeah, they're actually there's certain towns, I believe, that they're actually they're rallying against it because they realise that the actual science on it is flawed. They haven't done the research, and there's two other issues with it. I've kind of touched on it, but one is that you literally could be in a smart house and they would know not only how much you're using of a particular product, they would actually know that you've gone into your fridge, for instance. If you've got a smart fridge, they would know that there's almost like 3 people in the house and what you've used. And they also can control. They can literally send a frequency and they can control people with it. I'm not an expert on that. Well, I'm not an expert on any of it, but what I'm trying to say is I haven't done much research on it.
That's nearer the mark I was about to make. What you've got here is admission of toxic effects stuff, but for a much better purpose. We can get more data, and that's the way it's being sold. But I think that's the way I would look at it, is that's never the reason for doing it. But what they are building is as you said, you're in a small village, but they're building into the psyche of people to have these stations in your garden, here, there, and everywhere. And I don't think it's necessarily a plan for this generation. I think it's a plan for our kids, so that totally normalized to have these stations that, as you allude to, whatever nefarious reasons, and I think to try and guess them is daft, but that would, to me, would be the real purpose of all this investment and everything now, is to normalize their presence.
They're really pushing it on our YouTube commercials that I've been watching over the last few days. Every other commercial is some kind of device that's either sitting in your kitchen with a screen and you're cooking with dad, or it's a little tiny device on the counter next to where the little pet pig, and now the pet pig in the shed because the pet pig is too big. And so now it's all this lovey, touchy, feely. Oh, everybody needs to have this close togetherness on fucking screens. Oh, it makes me insane. Sorry.
Can you see on the screen? There was a case in Gateshead recently with a guy called Mark Steele, who's puts out videos on YouTube, and the judge refused to gag the anti-5 Street Light campaigner and said the public has a right to know. So they're moving on quite well on this front. But if we want to go back to the kilo, sorry.
Thank you.
Currently, the kilogram has a very simple definition. It's the mass of a hunk of platoon. Who wants to read this? That's useless.
I don't want to read it.
Well,
I was going to say I lost my headsets when you were saying about that, but the kilo to me was the way I was taught it is 1 kilo of mass is equivalent to 1 liter of water in French or Satan.
Yeah, but it's got a standard. I've got it in front of me. It's just
but what I mean is that was one liter of distilled water was 1 kilogram. That was the defining unit, was water, distilled water. So that was the way it was defined, and its weight 1 kilogram was defined volumetrically from that pure substance.
Right. Well, you now volunteered yourself to read what I've got on the screen.
I was going to say, it looks like they're about to do the same, aren't they? Look, so currently the kilogram has a very simple definition. It's the mass of a hunk of platinum iridium alloy that has been housed in the. So instead of it being something that we could all go and distill water, take a known volume of, and define ourselves, it's now defined as, go back up.
No. That's what it used to be defined as. This is what it is now defined as.
Is now
we'll go to that point. So the other point first, because then it was secondly, it was then defined as something that you couldn't touch yourself, right? But did physically exist, but couldn't touch yourself, somewhere. But was locked away somewhere from you, yeah, because it's so precious, right? So now you're saying it's defined as what? That yellow. I got to read that, John.
Yeah, you got to read that. Yeah, you got to read that.
It says the kilogram symbol kg is the SI units of mass is defined by taking a fixed numerical value of the Planck constant to be 6.626070. What's that? 15 times 10 to the minus 34. When expressed in the unit of JS, which is equal to a kilogram. What's that? Meters squared times. Well, I've got a Jaffa cake in my mouth. Probably wasn't the best person to read this.
No, thank you very much for reading it.
I was going to say, I tell you what,
you there like a true man.
He could be quite useful here, Oakley. You could. I'll tell you, mate. That even with a Jaffa cake, that was better than us. So,
and it finishes off where the meter and the second are defined in terms of C and some weird triangle V, capital C S. I mean, it's just So
at least your article attempted to explain it.
Go back. Oh, yeah.
That was the bit that John qualified, the bit about the Planck constant. So that was what he put in prior to. There's a good Veritasium video on this actually, and it had it on the earlier bit of the article about Legrand K and how they split it up. Vaguely what I said earlier, which is that they had lots of them that split them up, and then they brought them back together, tested them, and they were wrong, so they now redefined it. But I think in the Veritasium video they had this sphere out of this crazy man-made polymer or something that looked like metal. It was really shiny, and it was exactly a kilogram and cost $1 million to produce, or some crazy nonsense. But there we go. So yeah, if you want a really detailed explanation on this from memory, the Veritasium video does a really good job of explaining it.
But as Adam was saying, I mean, isn't it so much more simple to have a litre of water equals a kilogram? I mean, how that rather than the nonsense they came out with down here. I mean, yeah,
Because that's something that can actually remain constant. Like you say, you take the water, but you remove all impurities. You take distilled water.
Yeah.
But water on the North Pole would weigh more. I mean, less. I mean, more than the equator. And I'm taller on the equator.
Prove it.
Sounds like you've been talking to Wolfie while you've been away.
Yeah, that's a formological fallacy. So he punted that as scientific evidence, and I had to rip him a new one in his own comment section and point out that it's not science. It's actually a formological fallacy. It's called affirming the consequent.
Expand on that a bit, if you would.
I'll try and formulate it. I can't remember exactly how he formulated, but some words similar to, if I travel to the outside edge of a presupposed sphere, I will weigh X. And I do weigh X at the outside edge and Y at the inside edge of a presupposed sphere. Therefore, the Earth is a presupposed sphere. So then Q, therefore P. So the easy example of a formological fallacy. Or
is that Wolfie you're talking about, Nathan?
Yeah, so Wolfie's basically affirmed the consequent. He's assumed his outcome. So this is all globe proof ever. They assumed that you were on a sphere to begin with. So the statement, when you formalize it, actually starts with, if I am on a sphere.
He's doing a job, but he's doing a job, because I got my best mate and I tried to, it's been 3 years. Obviously, I've been into the flat earth for 3.5 years, and I finally told him what I believed. Anyway, he's looked into it, and he's got to a couple of Wolfie videos. He absolutely loves him. He keeps quoting him. He keeps talking about Wolfie and his video of this lighthouse that proves the curve. And it doesn't matter what I say now. Wolfie is the number one, because I think Wolfie's Australian, isn't he?
Yeah,
Wolfie he's the number one man in this in my mate's eyes, and we had to stop talking about it, because I'm always wrong.
Worse than that, Rob. It's not even if X then Y, is it, Nathan? If X, then not X.
No, it's if X then Y, Y therefore X.
No, what I mean is, in terms of Wolfie's not, if X, fine, you can weigh it here. When he says Y, what he means by Y is anything. It could be anything, but not X. He's not actually quantifying what Y will be based on its geographical change and change of spin, and therefore the effect of gravity.
So basically, the way that logical fallacy breaks down is the one doesn't necessarily follow the other. So if I give it you in a simplistic version, it'll make a lot more sense. If I eat 10 hamburgers, that's P, then I'm full, Q. Now that's just a statement of fact. If P, then Q. If I eat 10 hamburgers, I'm full, right? Everyone will agree with that. But if I then reverse it and say, if I am full, I must have eaten 10 hamburgers. That's how you formulate the logical fallacy. So he will start with his premise. If the Earth is a sphere, I will observe, insert bullshit here. I observe bullshit I have just stated, therefore the Earth is a sphere. So he just mixes in something that he does on a presupposed sphere. So number one, he's saying, when I travel, I am traveling this method over a sphere. So he's automatically got whoever is listening to this example to be on a sphere at the beginning of the example and understand that you are traversing a sphere in the example. So he's already begged the question, you're already on a sphere, right? He's detailing how you're moving over the said sphere. So you're begging the question, then he just formulates whatever his example does to proving a sphere, which he's already assumed. Does that make sense?
It does. What I'm assuming and allowing him the formal logical fallacy. What I'm kind of saying then, to use that quotation, is you use the hamburger one, whereas you say 10 hamburgers. Right? He's saying just loads. He's not saying any hamburgers. He's just saying, if I go from here to here, there is a change in, let me show you loads of maths. But he's not saying the weight will be this because of this. So he's kind of saying, if I'm full because I've eaten some hamburgers.
Let me try. if the Earth is a sphere, I will experience a change in weight as I move from the equator. I experience a change in weight as I move from the equator, therefore the Earth is a sphere.
Yeah.
They,
It's that wishy-washy. Exactly. There's no X and Y implies some form of calculation and measurement to validate it. It's not.
the
It's just
observation
any
doesn't
old change.
necessarily follow the conclusion and
Right.
is based on a presupposition to begin with.
Yeah.
So in their formal logical fallacy, in their affirming the consequent, the P part is also a begging the question fallacy. So instead, it makes a lot more sense if I formulate it like if R, then Q, right? In other words, if I assume the Earth is a sphere, so you're begging the question, then I will observe weight change as I move along my presupposed sphere. I do observe the weight change as I move along my presupposed sphere, therefore the Earth is a sphere. So it's an affirming the consequent.
So if you masturbate, you go blind, therefore all blind people are wankers.
Exactly.
Okay, gotcha.
All blind people.
Oh, you're a wanker, John.
2020 vision, mate.
That is really funny, John.
But sometimes they'll put it the other way around. So they'll try and get tricky and do it the other way around. So they'll say all blind people are wankers, therefore wanking causes blindness. So it just flips it the other way around. But ultimately, it's exactly the same formulation.
That works too. Yeah. Sorry to debate it there. Now I understand.
But that's all I ever see now. So, like I said, I don't know if I said this in the introduction or I'm hallucinating one or the other. It's pretty late. But all they have is logical fallacies. And when I'm watching the older shows from 12 months ago, I see people like Joshua going into the show, and it's logical fallacy after logical fallacy after logical fallacy, and then he declares a victory. And you're like, none of that would fly now.
Nathan, this is the thing that, as Gary said, I strongly suggest in a chat with him and Dee Dee. This is the thing that's been making me pissed this week. I think it started the week with Wiggles, but it's just for the after show stuff been, as well as really funny, right? It's been very telling about the level of argument they have and what they're prepared to do to distract. And maybe you could start with Wiggles 2019 because that's a classic. And I know the other stuff's been married, but Wiggles 2019 is it's memeable. Yeah, it wasn't so much the quoting him, pal. It was the way that during his destruction, you coined a phrase that just crushed him at every point. Because you could do it and then do the Wiggles 2019, and it just brought all the pain. As much as they tried to deny what's gone off in the past, and that was the clever thing about Wiggles 2019 for me. What they tried to do is ignore the previous sentence they've even said. But with that, it was quite ironically used by you. I thought that was quite clever. And that's part of the thing that, for me, the debates has built is this archive of bullshit quotes that you can hold them to. And I think we're at this stage now where, as we've seen this week with a number of people, we're able to hold them to something and show the contradiction that they have, not only within science, but now with the increased engagement with the contradiction in their own statements. Like I said, it is funny.
Oh, definitely. I mean, watching people like Conspiracy Cats squirm for weeks on end with me tallying up the number of times I've asked him the same question over and over again. I think I can't remember the exact number. It was definitely in the 300s. It was something like 362 times or something crazy. I asked him the exact same question with quote marks around it, just counting, saying, right, 320th time I've asked you this question, 322nd time, 330th time. Just kept on asking him. And then eventually Arwin had him on his show because he, I don't know, maybe saw Arwin as an easier choice. And from the chat, I just kept on doing it with the numbers, quoting the same question. And then Arwin read it out verbatim. It was priceless. And all he could do was answer it honestly. And his answer supports our assertions because he's a physics teacher. He knows the score. he knows you can't have gas pressure without a container, and that's what he said. So it's like, right, so your explanation, that's going to have a whole load of quote marks put around it, and every single time someone argues with me about it, I'll quote you, and if they argue with that quote, I'll take it up with Conspiracy Cats. He's on your side, right? It's his quote.
Nathan, there is this.
Hey, hang on one second, Adam.
Go on. Yeah.
I'm sorry. You apparently are low. You're not to us in the call. We're hearing you fine, but I just checked on YouTube, and for some reason, you definitely are lower on YouTube than in the actual Zoom call.
What,
Me?
No, Nathan. I mean, I'm sorry, Adam, not Nathan. Everybody's hearing everybody else except
Okay.
Nathan. Apparently, repeatedly in chat, I'm going back through and seeing Adam is low. Adam is low. Sorry.
Okay. Is that better?
I don't know. Check the chat, because you've been fine to us through the whole call. I haven't had any problem hearing you, but when I checked it on YouTube a minute ago, it definitely is lower.
I'll try it now. Maybe that's a bit better.
Let me go check.
Now, this is the Iron Realm media, I know.
That's better, isn't it? It was all going too well. Thank goodness for that. Thank goodness for that. What were we saying? Because I was just gonna. You see, that's back. We're back. We're back on form.
You can
That's
tell
that.
we're a bunch of 40-something blokes, can't you? that just can't remember 10 seconds ago.
I wish I was in my 40s.
You are beyond, are you? You're in your 30s, are you?
I'll get to 41 day.
I will be celebrating my 56th in September.
Nice.
56.
Yeah, I know. Old dog, eh?
And he's fitter than all of us.
Yeah, right.
Unfortunately.
You have got a knack there. You do look pretty damn healthy, I must say. It pains me to say, but
His eyesight looks all right as well.
John, do you want me to give you my secret?
go on then.
It's going to an Amsterdam convention.
It's Loctite. It's Loctite 55, isn't it?
I actually use Loctite 55 in my job, so I know all about
I
it.
did actually see that, Gary, in a forum, that going to the Amsterdam convention does actually improve health and skin condition.
Yeah.
And blindness as well, I hear.
I've heard that too.
I think that
Leprosy
conversation
has
is
been
about 5
cured
minutes
as
ago.
a direct consequence of going to these conventions. So if you do have leprosy, you can be cured.
Go to Amsterdam. Come on, savage. It's just for Gary now. Just look how much it means to him.
Yeah, it means everything to me, John. I've only put on. Well, Dee Dee came up with the idea, and I've supported it. We've done it for you.
Well, look, we've gone over the hour by 6 minutes.
No pressure.
None felt, mate. None felt. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Could I just mention a couple of side notes?
Certainly.
I decided because the ITV interview went over 4 million YouTube views, and obviously we had 2 million watch it live. I decided to write to ITV because I looked through their history of all of their videos that number many over the last 8 months, and I just said to them, well, you do realize that this is actually the biggest, the most watched thing you've had in 8 months. They then wrote back to me and said, oh yeah, good point, could you consider coming back on? And I said, what do you think? They said, well, why don't you all come on again and do exactly what you said? And I said, not really, I think we want to be moving on. So I said, I am going to ask you to contact Brian Cox and invite him onto the show, and I'm going to ask my friend Nathan to rip him a new arsehole. And for some reason, they turned us down. So that was disappointing, but at the same time, I also thought it was fun that I know that Brian Cox has been asked to do a debate through ITV, and he chickened out. Moving on from that, I then noticed a video that's been put out by Dr. John D when he went down to Worthing, and he actually did the experiment, the observation, Nathan, the observation, where he actually had a pipe on the water's edge, and it had spirit levels, and in watching that, I asked Roxanne if I could have his mobile number, because even I went there last weekend for the for the test, but it didn't quite work out, or I haven't seen the results yet. I didn't get to meet him. So I spoke to him last night and we were brainstorming, and I said to him, would you consider discreetly, if we can, come onto ITV, if we can set it up? And off the back of it, he was also telling me that on the 22nd and 23rd of this month, he's going to go back down to Brighton and Worthing. And I said, wouldn't it be good if we could possibly get ITV there? So I'm going to be asking that question on Monday. I don't really think that's their type of thing, but I just think, and John got really excited about the whole idea, that if we did get somebody there doing some filming from a nationwide network, it would be quite significant.
Cool. Very cool.
I think if you can suck them in, mate, that'd be awesome to get some of John's.
My God.
It doesn't need, all his back catalogue is sufficient evidence, I think. And laser light has been questioned for a while. I know Anthony's going through the sugar experiment now. I'm not sure what that thing proves, but I think with John D, I think it'd be a very powerful thing in terms of optics to have his.
Well, if I can just mention, Adam, that I spoke to John yesterday, and I said to him, the issue with what we do is that if you showed somebody something that is, like, for instance, if you go from Worthing to Brighton, we all know that I think it's meant to be something like 81-foot curve, and we obviously know that there is no curve because we've been there, and I've been there myself. I went there with Fookers a few years ago, but if you talk to a local, all they say is, so what? It's not because they're saying so what as in they disagree. They're just saying, so what? I've always seen it. Unless it's foggy, I've always seen it. So they need to see the difference between what it should be compared to the globe rhetoric compared to what they're actually seeing. So I said to John that really we can't just do a test, do an observation, and this is the result. You need to show them what it should be based on their results. So basically, off the back of that, he got quite excited about the idea that he's got 4 lasers, and he's going to now have laser lights at 4 heights. So he's going to have one, I think, at 1 meter, one at, I think it may be 4, one at 7, and one at 10, or whatever. I can't remember what the actual denominations are. But instead of actually just having a laser light, it's actually going to be set at different levels all at the same time. And that is something that's going to happen in a couple of weeks' time.
I can't wait. That's going to be amazing to see.
Any chance?
It's no point just showing somebody something. It's like showing somebody an apple and saying this is fruit. You then show them an orange and they say, well, hold a minute, but I've seen the fruit and it looks like an apple. So yeah, but there's other fruits that are fruits. And they're just accepting what they're given. Like, they can see some bees from the Isle of Man or vice versa. They just say, oh yeah, but I've always seen it from my entire life. But they need to see that they shouldn't be able to see that. So you need to show them the comparison.
That's the kind of the point I was saying in terms of if you're going to have TV stuff and why John's presence there is because I think their standard defense is going to have a scientist there that will show NASA pictures. But actually, if you've got another scientist there discussing the validity of the optics and the models, it becomes very hard for them to wash away the bullshit by just using. Yeah, but we've got a scientist on the other side saying, yeah, but I've got pictures from NASA and the European and Imawari, so it can't be true. You know what I mean? And in terms of TV land, that's quite powerful. On the other side, you've got a scientist saying this. But if actually on our side, we've got an optics specialist saying this is what the impact of what we're seeing is, and it's not explainable on their model, it's only explainable when observed across a flat plane, it's very difficult for them to rebut that with, well, what do you rebut that with? The only honest thing in any debate is to have another scientist present opposite theories in terms of and validate it the way that John's done.
Gary, can I ask, have you informed ITV about Dr. John D?
No, I spoke to John yesterday, and it wasn't with the aim of actually getting Dr. John up there. It was actually, to begin with, is could I basically, with his permission, cut up a video or anything salient that he thinks that it would be okay to mention, because my goal is to have the likes of Nathan. And depending on how it works out, but maybe allegedly Dave would be great if we could have him there as well. But we only get 8 minutes. That's all they give us. So when we were there last time, we managed to do just over 10 minutes, which was obviously pretty significant, even though it wasn't enough. But I have asked John about the video, and with brainstorming, it all developed into, I asked him, would he even consider coming up if they can disguise his voice and blank him out or whatever, which I know they can do. And he said he was more than happy with that. So what are you thinking, John?
Well, I obviously think it's a terrible idea getting ITV involved or any mainstream, and that will be my opinion till my dying day. But if you're going to, then I'd suggest you don't tell them who John D is or his qualifications or anything, and actually crack it on their program. Just tell them that you've got a guy who's doing these experiments and he's been doing them, and they'll think, great, another beanie hatted nut job. And on the show, you could actually reveal that he's actually a PhD in spectroscopy, and it is not something to be laughed about by the likes of ITV.
I hear what you're saying, but I think there's two things on that. One is, unless we actually gave it weight, that this person's got a PhD, they're not going to be overly interested, because they just think it's this load of flat earthers just doing an observation. And secondly, I don't really think that this morning are people that go out there to film things in readiness for a show. So what I'm hoping is it could be that they can actually put me in touch to somebody else within the ITV network, but it definitely won't be them. I don't think so anyway. But yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I don't know. This is one of the reasons why I wanted to mention it tonight, because sometimes you can have too many cooks, but at the same time, there's a lot of brains here, and obviously in chat, that it would be good to make the most of the opportunity if I can negotiate it.
Well, I mean, I would just say that ITV would probably run a mile if you told them he was a PhD and what he did his PhD in, and the sort of observations he's been gathering over the last months. What they want is low-hanging fruit and fish in a barrel to shoot. And you just introduce him as your mate John D. But I'm being slightly sort of facetious anyway. But it would be lovely to backhand them without them knowing it. But I suppose this is live now, so
yeah. I just feel, I don't know what other people feel here in the chat, but I just feel though that you need to give them something. Like for instance, as a prime example, I actually spoke to or mentioned it within FE Core about possibly getting like Nathan on there with Brian Cox, and I said I think the view count would just be off the scale. And Karen B said, and I thought it was so funny, is it would break the internet or crash the internet. I think I can't remember the exact words. So it's like you need something of meat for them to be interested, but I don't think they would touch it anyway, regardless if we told them or we didn't tell them. I don't think they would want to film it.
Well, Gary, it's been talked about already in chat numerous times, and Vagabond just dropped the link. Apparently, Professor Cox is out on his UK tour right now. So, get out there, people. Drum it up. Make some noise. Get this where it's in his face.
I think Nathan's aware of this, but not many other people, and Tony Riley. But when we did the thing on, I think it was May the 2nd last year, it was basically the next day. And I think ITV were very keen because it was literally a few days after the UK convention. And Brian was asked, and I think what he did is he did a video link that was within the video, the interview, but he wasn't actually there. So this time when he said, oh, I've asked before, I said, yeah, but this time we've got time on our hands. We can work around him. So he can't use the excuse, "Oh, I'm sorry, but I'm busy tomorrow." And I think it's funny that that Brian Cox has been asked and Brian Cox has turned it down. So even though I'd love to have this debate, and let's face it, even though Brian Cox has got a reputation, he's gone up against Nathan. he would be on a suicide mission. So and I think he knows it.
Oh, I'm sure he knows it.
Well, before we get near the end, we've done enough sponsoring for Brian Cox there, and I know Nathan wants to give a couple of shout outs before we go. Nathan,
is Rob around still?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Find your friend.
do you know? Are you familiar with the YouTuber called Flat Earth Perth?
I am not. No.
Okay. Well, fellow was.
They're 5,000,
He's
6,000.
I knew he was going to do that.
I'm not doing that foreigner thing where I think he's your neighbour just because he's in Oz. No, I'm not doing that. I'm just saying that's why I phrase. Are you familiar with the YouTuber? I don't think.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
No, I'm not.
Flat Earth Perth. I'm going to do a bit of shilling. So if you don't like shilling, sod off. Don't care. He's basically set up a GoFundMe to get a drone camera. So he's going to buy his own drone, but he basically wants to buy this 30 times zoom camera. I'm hoping that Adam's got I sent him the link, so see how slick he's going to be if you can.
Oh, I was just about to say to you want to have a go at screen sharing on Zoom, Nathan? You're more than welcome to try on Iron Realm.
Nah. If you can bring it up on his GoFundMe page,
I'll get it
in the chat though, so the chat will get a link to the GoFundMe. If nothing else, look, if you don't want to support him financially on the campaign, just go to the GoFundMe site and just share it. Stick it on Twitter, stick it on Facebook, and share it, and that helps. So I remember, I think it was Anthony Riley's or Ranty's GoFundMe campaign. Karen B shared it on Facebook, and that generated a donation. So sharing it is obviously not quite as good, but as good as you can do if you don't want to actually contribute. Obviously, if you can chuck him a $5, that'd be brilliant. But yeah, it's $750 of his $1,000 total to get this 30 times zoom camera. The interesting bit being that he's going to do his observations, which he's got all planned out with this camera. Then if you want to click the play button, because it does actually show you some of the footage that it can produce. But once he's done with it, he said, look, if somebody else contacts me within the community and says, I would like to do X with this camera, he'll box it up and even pay the shipping and get it out to somebody else, potentially somewhere else in the world. So yeah, he's going to do some observations with this camera, considering that typically a 30 times optical zoom camera for a drone would be into the thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars, whereas this one's about, like I say, about $1,700. So pretty good value. But I think it's something that would be beneficial to the community in terms of the footage that it produced. Now,
what will he be able to do that we haven't seen already? Because a 30 times zoom isn't as good as our P900s and that sort of stuff. So what can he do you think, that hasn't been done?
I don't know. That's a very good question. I mean, ultimately speaking, he's just going to go out and do what he's planned to do with it, and I'm not him. But what I have seen from that particular videographer is lots of things that have sparked my imagination and given me explanations for things that I didn't understand before. So in terms of what he does with it, I don't know. But I do know he'll produce some good stuff with it. And that's why
certainly being in that layering, that height, it's got to show us something different. I mean, like some of the footage that's allegedly, Las Vegas from 300 or 400 miles away and all that from the airplane, that kind of idea.
Yeah, but Walt, I mean, if I go up on, I've got a hill here that's about 400 meters off the ground. It's, how high can the drone go? I can go up 400 meters. I can stop along the way and get little images from up, along the road. Of 200, 300. What can he produce that
he can fly,
I can't with my camera?
That perfect view, that perfect spot, that perfect.
No, I think it's more about the change of angle. So quite a lot of what he focuses on is how perspective and the angle of elevation and how it affects what you're viewing works. Well, if you're just in a fixed location at a given height, yes, you can drop in elevation, you can take a new shot, but a drone gives you something unique in terms of how it operates. So at the moment, you've got people like Tim Osman and Red Rhetoric and people of that nature who are going out with drones and making their arguments based on what they can produce and cherry pick from the footage they get. Whereas I would rather a flat earther like Flat Earth Perth, who's a really good videographer, knows how to explain things, and has put in quite a lot of research. Similar in terms of what he's doing and what he's explaining to someone like Phuket Word, but just also, you know, he's an Australian.
I think the difference is, Rob, is that he'll go out and do it.
Yeah, he'll use it. That's basically why I'm promoting it. I know he'll use it and he'll produce good stuff. And if at the moment I'm like, wow, Tim Osman's got some beautiful videography from his drone, so I don't want to be sniffing Tim and going, can I use your footage because it's beautiful? I'd much rather he was doing it, and it's like he's a friendly and he's on our side, so he'll make good arguments in terms of how your vision changes as you raise or lower in altitude, and that's something that a drone is absolutely custom made for. But the crappy lenses that they put on the typical drones, no, they're not that much use. With a really shit hot 30 times zoom, I think it would be. So there we go. I think it's worth shilling for. That's why I'm shilling for it.
Yep. You shill away. Sounds good.
Yeah, certainly. I'm excited because I love drones. I've seen some things just with the crappy ones that come with the ones we can get, but some of the higher end ones are
it's like
not great.
Like Rob was saying, he's got, you know, a 400-meter hill, and he's got a decent camera, and I've got the south coast not far away. I've got a crappy camera, but I'm not going to do it. And Rob's probably not going to do it, but this guy is putting his reputation out there, and it's like Ranty, you know, when it gets funded, you feel obliged to produce. So if that's something this guy can do, then I say, yeah, go for it. Absolutely.
Hey, Nathan, could you, if people aren't necessarily like Rob, even though he's only down the road from him, if they're not familiar with Flat Earth Perth's work, he's not some bloke that's just like not been doing stuff. The stuff he's done he's out there. He's a bit like an Aussie Ranty, isn't he, really?
Exactly. Yeah, it's like an Aussie Ranty. He's really out there, dedicated, doing these observations, but also getting stuck in debunking the globe head assertions. So he even did one on my behalf with, well, not because I asked him to, he just did it. So he saw, I don't watch Slice of Arcane. I'm not interested in most of them, if I'm honest. I don't watch any of their stuff. But he produced a video. So I was like, oh, right, okay, let's have a look. And it turns out he was debunking an assertion that was made by Slice of Arcane about me. And I was like, oh, okay. He's just spotted some assertion that he doesn't like the look of and has then debunked it. And he did it in about a 20-second video. I was like, beautiful. You know, you did it far quicker and easier than I was trying to explain whilst in debate with the Globehead and getting the Globehead to draw it out in a CAD program while he's either deliberately or through ignorance not understanding what's trying to be communicated. He did it. And I was like, why didn't I just describe it like that? So it's one of those, when I see his videos, not just the one about me, but most of them, if not all of them, I go, right, that means I can now verbalize that much better for having it visually represented to me, with 9 times out of 10 a verbal explanation from him as well. And he's so concise. That's what I love about Flat Earth Perth. His explanations are short. Not because I've not got a long enough attention span. I mean, at the moment, I'm putting out videos from Life is Short, and again, off the back of Ranty's channel with Red Pill Philosophy, me, and Life is Short, talking about the horizon. And it's a 6-hour explanation for the horizon. So it's not like I've not got the patience, but when it comes to Flat Earth Perth, he'll give you an explanation that he can summarize in about 20 seconds, which would something that would take me 2, 3, 4 minutes to argue the toss about with a globe head in discussion. He can, like I say, he can just summarize it. And most of the time he's doing it with the actual real life, real world footage to back what he's explaining in the face of some globe head arsehole's assertion.
It just highlights, though, Nathan, doesn't it, that everyone in Flat Earth has something to offer, and that, you know, we are a diverse group of people that can all bring something to the table, no matter whether we, you know, a lot of people put themselves down and think they can't offer anything at all. And it just goes to show that, you know, each of us have our what are they called? Positives, pros.
You're right, John, because I'm shocked because I thought all Australians were too busy hanging on to actually do anything, but apparently not.
And they all live near each other. Obviously, it's only about the size of London, isn't it, Australia?
What would it be with that drone? You could probably see Rob's house if he went up high enough.
I just put the link to the GoFundMe in the description under the Linky link area of our show there too, everybody, if you missed it in chat with Bob. And
it's had some
pasting it there a bit.
Bob from Globebusters in the chat, he contributed to the GoFundMe campaign. And MIDI HC has just dropped $20 on the GoFundMe. Thank you very much. Big shout out. I won't shill for it anymore. Hopefully that'll be the end. Don't want to fill your show with shilling for Flat Earth.
I don't see it.
I just subscribed
to Flat Earth. He's great.
Yep. I just subscribed to him just then.
I don't see it.
A little bit of these stuff just then, yeah.
Yeah, I saw them check the video too. Sorry.
I don't see it as shilling at all. I think it's putting an idea out there, someone else's, something that you think is worthwhile. And if people want to give to it, they give to it. If they don't even want to click on it, then they don't even have to click on it.
Truly the reason I even started doing this whole crazy crap with all the madness we endure doing these crazy shows and all it brings is to bring all of us together as family, whatever you want to call it. I mean, if that doesn't happen, then what the hell are we doing this for? If we can't all support each other and help each other, I think it's brilliant, Nathan. Go.
Exactly. That's exactly why I like it. It's not necessarily about the funding, because even Flat Earth himself said, look, I could, you know, I do have the funds to just go out and buy this, but I'd produce my images, few people would watch them, might get a few likes. However, if I do a GoFundMe, it involves the community. So we've been talking about Dr. John D. He dropped $100 on this GoFundMe campaign. So there you go. There's a good shout out for Dr. John G. and his generosity, biggest contributor to the campaign, I believe. But my point is that now Bob Nodal of Globebusters, he's well aware of it and he's going to be shouting it out. He might have reached his total by then, hopefully so. But it means that the actual images that he produces will actually reach a wider audience. The explanations he gives, which are so good, so concise, will reach a bigger audience. The people who are supporting him in his GoFundMe campaign will be interested in the progression of what he does with this camera. So it all works to the benefit of getting the information out there to a wider audience and involving us, i.e. literally us on the panel now, to be involved with it. I wouldn't be talking about it if you'd just done a good video with a drone.
And I think on in the same vein, I'd like to put a shout out about Jason Lindgren's film, Shoot the Moon, with Crow 777, because I know for a fact that film will be absolutely impeccable. You know, if it gets the funding it needs. I don't know where it is. It's been a couple of weeks since I've looked at it now, but I think he was after $19,000 or something, which is a pittance for something that the quality and subject matter that they're going to cover in that film. But yeah, so on a shilling front, there you go. That's my 2 shillings worth. Everyone's
got a shill for something.
There we go. This is the shill time. Everybody hit it hard.
I think shill's the wrong word.
It isn't.
Shill,
it's the correct word. It's just been.
Shill implies a deception is going on because you have the shill in the audience and they're the first to buy the lotion of hand cream or whatever.
Snake oil.
Exactly. I think shillings are right. I think it's promotion. I think it's promotion. It's informing people out there of what's going on.
Promotion.
Let's not put ourselves down. You know, we're not shilling. We're promoting things that
I'm still selling handmade hemp hats. If anybody wants one.
There you go.
Not so much anymore, but
shill.
Hank's handmade really hemp hats.
I can make one for you.
I had it on earlier doing my video.
Right, we are now.
We've got one last bit then before we do finish, and again, it was something I was going to mention, and I don't know. We didn't know Nathan was coming on tonight. Gary is super secret squirrel. So even yesterday, I didn't know when Nathan was making me do a plug that it was him. You there, guys?
Yeah, we can hear you.
That's all right. The screen had frozen, and with all the problems I'm having, kind of like so. This week with Nathan, I'm back, baby, I'm back. We're there.
Slick, loop flick.
Yeah, let's go out properly.
More enough. Getting busy down here.
I'll tell you now, Nathan. It's that slick. After I've said this, I've still got to line up gravity. So let me finish, and then I'm going to get on gravity.
Screw gravity. What about the presentation? I'm going to be fucking dribbling by the time we get onto that.
That's going to be the second part of the show, though. So it's a fresh slate.
So might loosen you up. Right. Let me get this out before I do forget it.
4 minutes then.
Right. So one last thing while Nathan's here, and that was talked about shilling for money, but there's money available out there. And that's the Zinda $5,000 Swiss franc equivalent challenge.
Yeah, so he's got 5,000 Swiss francs and it's $1 to 1 Swiss franc. So $5,000 American. He's put on the table for an angle of attack challenge. So he's got 3 different stipulations in terms of how to make things disappear from bottom up and bring things back, changing aperture sizes and various other different things. I'm not going to give too many details because I don't want to butcher his challenge, and it is his. Now, I have put the video, it was actually filmed yesterday, but it's gone out today as a premiere. So other than the few hundred people that watched it live when it first went out, it's been out to the public today in the most part. So most people will only have heard about this today, and it's been titled with that exact title, i.e. $5,000 flat earth angle of attack challenge. But he's offered $5,000 to meet his criteria. So there's a few people out there that sparked enough interest in the angle of attack just from me talking about it. Now there's $5,000 on the table. So for all those people who are out there, there's been quite a few trying to debunk me, specifically me, about this very concept. I've used angle of attack deliberately just because it's a catchy title. I don't need hundreds of people telling me about aviation examples. That's not the point. It's just an all-encompassing way of describing what happens when you raise and lower your elevation, depending on your aperture size, to get things to disappear from bottom up. But I've called that angle of attack because it's much more catchy than what I've just described. And he's put out a challenge, this is Zinda, on the Flat Earth Debate for $5,000. So that should hopefully spark people's interest and at least get my video a few views, if nothing else. But he does literally go on camera. This guy's never been on camera, to my knowledge, to date. But in order to show that he was genuine, he went on camera for the first time, fanned out his $5,000, and then laid out his terms. So check it out. Well worth a look.
Zach, you've already got stage 2, haven't you? Or we're waiting for why you haven't?
Yeah, the equation.
Oh, well, actually, is that stage 3, or you've got
I think that's stage 3. Yeah.
I think you've got the optical. I did ask him that on Nathan's show, why your stuff wasn't quite sufficient. So I look forward to seeing his proper terms and conditions. It's an intriguing proposition, but it seems very vague and undefined at the moment. And I think it needs some clarity. So it's worth putting the effort in.
Possible. Just to put that out there.
Yeah.
Give a little.
Think you're about to round this show out, aren't you?
Yeah.
Do you tell the people who are in the chat that they should be subscribed? Because when you're live, you pick up quite a few people who just might pop by. So if you're in the live chat now and you're not subscribed to Iron Realm Media, what the hell is wrong with you?
Oh, we don't do that. We're trying to stay under the radar.
I'm busy. I've got Flat Earth Debate on the screen. I'm shilling for you, Nathan.
I tell you what I'll do, Adam, because I'm that kind of guy. I'll buy you a bit of time to, queue up gravity, get it all together, and you don't have to reply to me. This is me buying you time. Hint, hint.
I try it every week, Nathan. Don't worry. I try it every week. It doesn't work.
What, does he reply?
No, it doesn't matter how much you build it up. The hint's never taken. It's never queued up. It's never just flow with it. No, we actually actively project manage to deter people from subbing, liking, and all the rest of it because it keeps our head off the block.
Nah, don't listen to John Savage. He doesn't know what he's talking about. You should all be subscribed to Unreal Media. This is next.
Thumb it down.
You should all be subbed. If you're not, subscribe today.
Do you ever get daunted by the amount of subscribers you do have and thinking about the amount of people you are talking to on a sort of daily basis? Does that ever daunt you? No,
I'm looking at them going, why isn't it more?
I knew you'd say that too. Nah, it scares the crap out of me if there's more than 3 people listening.
I think if you're a Globehead right now, this hopefully or enough time, we'll see. There's bigger YouTubers out there like Jaren and Red Pill Philosophy. You've got like 140 and 210,000 subscribers respectively, and they're looking for the severed heads from the show to stick on spikes out to their audience. So if you're a Globehead, just be aware if you come on the debate that you might end up with your impaled head on some bigger YouTuber's spike. Just so you know.
Are you not worried about accidentally going off in a rant and having the Daily Mail pick up on it and suddenly you're in jail? Well, you'd love it, wouldn't you? Your hit rate would go through the roof. You'd absolutely love it. Arrest
live from
Nathan.
Jail. Flat Earth debate. Sounds of chains.
It's a new show. We're doing it next week, buddy.
You're a true revolutionary. You really are. Good man. Good man.
Right, will you lot stop rambling? Because I've been ready for hours.
You see, he replied. See? Yeah, it's a reply. You could have just played it and we'd have
on all this great production.
We're professionals, mate.
Look, I don't know whether you're going to hear it. That's the question.
That's fine.
Or whether it'll broadcast. So
let's just hope the audience hears it.
Yeah, we might be professionals, but we're not clairvoyant.
So what we're going to do now is have a quick break, come back, and then we've got Mr. Savage.
And truly, if you're not subscribed to Nathan Oakley's channels multipulously, go over there, get over there and sub, and sure, hit that like button, share it. Don't go anywhere if you're in chat. We're just taking a slight break. Go get you some coffee. Go get
Do not go anywhere. I'm
whatever.
Sorry, Walt.
I reckon you're going to need plenty of coffee because when John starts talking.
Well, that was I was trying to get there. Thank you, Rob. You could take it better than me on that one. So yeah, get your coffee. This is really going to be a great presentation.
Plenty of
this made me have an aha moment, everybody. I thought I understood all this stuff.
That was so brilliant. We'll talk about that.
Pointed all this out, and it was like, oh, holy, yeah.
I haven't had a wow moment in a long time. So
it was so good.
Well,
of course, the one time John's not recording it.
That's why your eyesight's so good, Rob.
Let's go grab some coffee and we'll find out.
Yep.
All
right, love you all. Stay right here. We'll be right back. It is.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Garen. Are you staying?
Pretty high.
Stick around, Gary.
Almost in the clouds, and they're
Thanks, guys.
free to change to the ground with their chains.
Fuck, that's loud.
Of misery. They've got a hold of me.
Yeah, it's really hot.